Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kitty, and this is my second video. Well, third basically, but the first one is just intro. Today I'd like to talk to you about the topic that was the hardest for me to conquer. Let's say the pain of necessary goodbyes, it's called. Well, the hardest lesson to learn during these past 7 years in my life was this unconditional love. Being an empath, and I'm a Cancer, I'm a summer child. I was always like a little sunshine, basically. I was always cheerful as a kid. I grew up to be an only child. I did want brothers and sisters, but my mother couldn't bear any more children other than me. So I had this kind of solitary childhood where I learned to cope with my sadness and grief and everything by myself. I used to self-soothe a lot, so which it's always a catch-22. I mean, it's great in one sense and horrible in the other. And the good thing about it was that from early age, I became quite self-sufficient and independent. What was not good about it was to be hyper-independent, not ever needing anyone and asking for help and having difficulty receiving love. That's like the flip side of it. But, this unconditional love, I think, is the topic that this is what we came here to Earth, the school of Earth, as they call it, to conquer, to know, to learn, and to grow, because this means coming home to ourselves, coming home to the unconditional love that we are, and also coming back to Source, which flows through us. A chunk of the divine is always here guiding us, this divine intelligence inside. So even if we were learning it entire life, it would be worth it, because this is what we came here to do. So, but thankfully, I don't think we need whole life to learn it. I think we can pretty much grasp it. Some people, faster than the others, but I know it took me 7 years to understand what unconditional love meant and what it didn't. My biggest problem was learning that it wasn't unconditional tolerance to disrespect and to my boundaries and things like that. So the thing was, when people used to hurt me, and this starts from my very own parents who were unhealed. I mean, I love my parents, don't get me wrong. They just have their own demons they never dealt with. My father was always just rolling his eyes on anything that had to do with spirituality or digging into one's psyche, trying to find. I mean, he was just always scared, from regular doctors, physicians, to even digging deeper into himself. So I would say, fear is what prevented both of my parents to go and look for the answers within, knowing that they're not going to like a lot of the answers that they find, because I didn't. I mean, nobody does. I remember my first awakenings, and it's kind of rough to say, oh my God, I've been actually pushing love away. I've been an asshole so many times. I've treated this person poorly and spoke ill of other people as well. So nobody's here sinless. But there's definitely a difference among us who want to be better and do better and contribute to the whole by being love, and those who just wave their arms and say, fuck it, I don't feel like it, And those two were my parents, They don't just... My mother did a little healing, I remember her buying the Sai Baba books and attending some workshops or whatever, but maybe it lasted maybe a year or so when she did some yoga. A year in a person's life that, even if she lived to only 80 or something, that's nothing. I think we should always be working on ourselves, and there's always things to be learned and behavior to be corrected. So what I would find out is that, my parents would kind of step over my boundaries, my mother primarily, because my father was absent throughout my life. And then when I would say, you're like, this is not the way I don't feel good about this, you make me feel like this, and I was always gaslit, always, and it still happens today. This is a person that says, oh, you must be going through some hard shit, so that's why you're saying this. Well, yeah, in a way, but also because you've never actually acknowledged my feelings and my hurt. I was always too dramatic or in some depression, so she's actually a wonderful mother, but I'm the one who is doing really bad. So, being gaslit all the time, you start wondering, somebody like me starts wondering if really that's the truth. Maybe I'm just being too dramatic. Maybe there is nothing wrong with her perfect upbringing of me and, her perfect parenting ways. But then I realized, no, it's not true, And the pain of necessary goodbyes, this episode, this theme that I want to touch today is the fact that we need to, know thyself is the most important thing that will ever come across in this life. Because when you do know yourself, like I've learned to know myself, nobody else can tell me, not even my mother, about what is wrong, if I'm exaggerating or if I'm feeling something that is not happening, like I'm not crazy. I know myself, and therefore I can tell you, you are pushing my boundaries, you're disrespecting my boundaries, and I'll tell you, you as much as anybody else have to get out, basically. So when I start doing that, I would feel good and I would get my strength back because my energy wasn't siphoning to how does my mother feel, maybe she's hurt now, whatever. It was always about her. I was always protecting her, not ever thinking about how does that affect me, And I realized, you know what? I don't want to anymore. I want to put myself first. I want to ask, how do you feel, Kitty, with not talking to your mother? And you know what? I discovered I felt great. I felt like, okay, now I can write. I was submitting to some literary magazines. I even got published, my poems and essays were published in several. All the energy that used to go, that was siphoning, to some holes about how she's gonna feel because we're not talking or whatever, because, the countess is nervous or something. And I just direct all that energy into me, into creation, into healing, into loving life and walking, my dog, going to Portugal for 5 months. We came back recently from it, exploring, different Algarve region. It was really nice over there, the bird watching and everything. And I realized when I put all that energy I used to put in other people, when I direct it towards myself, I'm the one growing, and therefore I can be even better in that relationship that I might renew with her or I might not. She's still on ice, as I call it, because she keeps on disrespecting me. And that's just, I'm not the same person anymore. So, if the necessary goodbyes in your life mean saying goodbye to friends who are still doing drugs, do it. You gotta be merciless in cutting. I was merciless in cutting off. First thing I had to cut off was people doing drugs. Not cut off like, I don't want to ever talk to you again. Just getting out, getting out of that whole. And I was bullied. I was bullied because there was 20 of them still doing drugs, and I was the one, they were pointing finger at, oh, she thinks she's better than us and whatever. She hasn't done drugs in 2 days. Yeah, I am better. 2 days is better than 0 days. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm better, I'm trying to do better here. So instead of you cheering me on, if you're because you're not, if you're jealous or envious because you can't do it, it's not my problem. You deal with your stuff. I'm trying to deal with mine, which is stay clean. So I cut off all the people that I just stopped communicating. I stopped going to Zagreb. I was living on the seaside. I was cleaning up. And that was the first cut. People who did drugs and drank a lot. It took a while to say bye, because I would relapse and then call somebody up and hang out again and stuff like that. But in general, I did not want the same company, so I changed my company. So the pain of necessary goodbyes, sometimes it's like that. It's abrupt. It's about people doing drugs and you don't want to do them anymore. And then there's a subtle one where a lot of people did nothing wrong to me, except for they wanted to remain stagnant. And I remember going on this big adventure, taking the money from the house and moving towards Spain. But we went through Tuscany and France and, the whole alongside Mediterranean, me and my dog. So as I was traveling, I still had the Croatian number, the old phone number. And I remember people just, I would be like meditating and trying to catch some peace and things like that. And I took upon Spanish lessons because I knew I was going to move to Spain. And I remember one friend calling me and then another one calling me at the same time, because they had 1 second or 1 minute free before the two of them met in a bar. So they thought, I'm going to call Kitty and kill this 1 minute that I'm not doing anything. And the other one thought that too. And all of a sudden I had like these call waitings from two people about to meet for coffee or whatever the hell. And I was like, why am I always available? This is also stiffening my energy. I'm trying to learn Spanish here. I'm trying to do my best here. While these people are just, they have time to kill. These people do not love you. They have time to kill. If they free themselves and make room for me, let me talk to Kitty, even though I'm in the middle of work or a big, huge presentation, because I love her and she's my friend, I would trust you that you really, really want to talk to me and that you are my friend. But I realized I have to cut off everybody who is just an acquaintance with nothing to do. And I did. And you know what I did? I changed my phone number. I bought a Spanish number and I gave my number to only several people. And all of a sudden, this beautiful peace overcame, like this beautiful, gorgeous piece of not one message coming, not one phone call coming, except for a couple of people that are there, your friends. Happy birthday, how you doing, how is Spanish going, and stuff like that. People that were friends. And even out of those people, several of them, turned out to be not really friends, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the more you grow, the less you get attached. And at first, we all like to say, I don't care what people think. But that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Because I remember thinking, I don't care what people think, but yet thinking, but how can I just not give her my new number? But, how is that going to look like? She didn't do anything wrong to me. But then I realized, but she didn't do anything right to me either. She's just like a freaking plant, somebody is in your life who's just kind of a nuisance, There's so many numbers in your address book, you got to clean up. The pain of necessary goodbye starts from your phone address book and continues onto your email address book, contact list, and from people that don't necessarily mean any harm to you, but are there. And if they're 5 times a week messages that mean nothing, like, hey, what's up? Or those people who just send these memes on the internet and these jokes that are not even funny to anyone, but It's taking the time off of your thing. And if you want to do great things like I want to do great things, then there is no time for that. What do you think Michael Jordan or Richard Branson has these people that have nothing to do, calling them while he's inventing a new airline or something? And Elon Musk, none of those people, they wake up and do their passionate work, and they're hanging out with people who are just as passionate, if not even more, about changing something in the world. Sometimes it's noble and sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're a trillionaire that wants to go to Mars and whatever. And to me, I'd use my trillions differently, but that's his right. But in any case, he's definitely not feeling guilty for not talking to some guy he knew in high school or whatever because, oh, how can I not? He didn't do anything wrong to me. You got to be selective. The necessary goodbyes, they just have to come because we are the 5 people we are constantly surrounded by. And if those 5 people are the 5 people in a bar because you work as a waitress or a bar woman or barman, if those 5 people are the people who smoke pot from morning to noon and then take a little walk and live with their mother or something who still washes their laundry at the age of 40, look around. Who are those 5 people? And you got to be brutal. You got to cut, because you're also cutting a part of you that resonates with people like that, with habits like that, with stagnation like that, with caring about people pleasing like that. So you're going to have to say goodbye to many things: habits, negative thoughts and beliefs, people pleasing, people themselves, and yesterday's you. If you want to really reinvent your life, you got to be brutal in cutting. And if it's your parents as well, cut them off too. If they're stifling your, is that the word, stifling? I think it is. If they're stifling your progress, cut them off. There is always a chance that you will renew the relationship when the boundaries will be respected, when you finally will be understood seriously by them. My mother is still trying to do all her little ways, let me send her money and whatever. Maybe she just softens up. Money can help me and whatever. I'm not going to say no to it if I need it, but it's not going to get our relationship back on track unless she takes responsibility for crossing my boundaries. So next time we do talk, we are going to talk very much differently. We're still not talking. There's a minimum window that I gave her, which is maybe 1 sentence written through an email. That's how we talk. So that is unconditional love towards oneself, and that is how I protect myself so I can be better, because that's how you love the world. You don't love the world by having everybody suck the life out of you. You love the world by putting everything inside of yourself, cutting everything you're not, all the people that just mess with your liveliness and your energy, and then using all that stored up beautiful love and energy into healing, into sending people great vibes, into producing content that makes somebody else thrive and then find the answer to something. I'm hoping that you will not be like me within these 7 years, that I felt so guilty every time I said no to my mother or to my friends or didn't change my number or whatever. I hope you will be brutal in cutting off everything and saying those necessary goodbyes, because with that is an act of love. That's what I realized. That is the greatest act of love, is when you cut everything off and everybody off to be the best person you can be in your life, to produce, to create, to be the closest to God, because you have that spark in you and you're happy and you're airing this love. Then the right ones will reappear or new ones will appear and stuff like that. And you will also serve as a living example of how it's done and how how other people can also do it. You're giving, in some sense, all the people who have people-pleasing qualities, you're giving them the green light to, hey, time to stop that. I did it. Look how I look. I look great. I feel great. I can be of service to my fellow humans, to the entire planet Earth, because my energy is now back mine. You know, that's what I wanted to tell you, because I've struggled with it. Every time I've pushed for my own independence and sovereignty, guilt came riding back. And I wrote essays and essays, and I transmuted all that, and eventually, and I prayed and everything. And one day it was just taken away. No more guilt. Because I think all the grief underneath all the anger and everything that I felt for decades, it just, it finally the well got dry, you know. I just cried it all out. I felt it all. And I feel great now. So, but you know, it's definitely, it's a never-ending story at the same time, but it's easier and easier. When you set your boundaries, when you set your standards high, you will automatically rise in your vibration, because self-love is one of the most beautiful vibrations you can vibrate with, you know. And it's kind of intrinsic to us. It's very natural to us to just, you know, because if there is a part of God in you, then you love God by loving yourself, which is, you know, beautiful thing to do. And what happens is you stop attracting these energy suckers, these vampires, and they don't know how to approach you anymore. Oh, she's like a little bit above us now or something. There is, even though you don't feel like that, I don't feel like above anybody or anything, but people do get you as, oh, you know, I need to know how to approach her. She's authentic. She's not full of shit, you know. So you're going to automatically filter the people that are not supposed to be in your aura. You will maybe bump into them, but you know, you won't be a part of their daily life, which is beautiful. I've been attracting some really nice news, you know, like I've been published by some cool magazines, literary magazines. And it's a long and arduous process, I have to say. It's like this, you know, coming from advertising, which is super fast industry, into publishing, which is snail slow. I mean, you know, I write an essay and then I send it out to I submit it to multiple magazines, and I'm not supposed to, I'm not allowed to publish it anywhere on my blog or anywhere, because it needs to be completely unpublished in case somebody wants to publish it, one of them. But they have 4 months to answer to me. So in 4 months, I forget about what I wrote and I'm a completely different writer. But I keep on writing and keep on submitting. And at one point, you know, like 3 good news came, toop, 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 you know, like, you know, we want your poem, we love your essay, we love this. So right now, and I think mid-July, right now, basically, 3 magazines are supposed to publish me. So I'm very, very excited for that. So all the good news are coming because of that thing that I cut off everything that was preventing me from being my true self, my self-loving, gorgeous person who uses her energy to create and to look good, to feel good, to create. And this is the best you can do. So cut everything off, okay? Cut everything off that is not making you a better person, a healthier person, a more decent human being, more joyful person. Just cut it off and be brutal about it. I love you. I'll see you soon.